Krishna. So, in this video, I'm going to be talking about a controversial topic of sex, sexuality, lust, that stuff that nobody likes to speak about because it's awkward, and it is. But it's really clearly stated in the Bhagavad Gita what lust is all about and how bad it really is. And many times, but mostly in chapter 3, verse 36 through 38. And I know a lot of YouTube videos are actually about this, but yeah, so is this one. So, Arjuna asks Krishna in chapter 3, verse 36. He says, "O descendant of Vishnu, by what is one impelled to sinful acts, even unwillingly, as if engaged by force?" And Krishna replies, "It is lust only, Arjuna, which is born of contact with the material modes of passion and later transformed into wrath, and which is the all-devouring sinful enemy of the world. As fire is covered by smoke, as a mirror is covered by dust, or as the embryo is covered by the womb, the living entity is similarly covered by the different degrees of this lust." So, yeah. A lot of people these days don't like to hear these truths that having sex before marriage is considered lust, and even in marriage it can be lust, because if it's not done for the reasons that sex was given to humanity, then it is driving you. If you're doing it for anything to satisfy your senses, then it is driven by lust. If you do anything to satisfy, just for the sense of satisfying your senses, then it is considered tamasic. Simple as that. Just like if even eating simply to satisfy your needs, rather than, not to satisfy your needs, but to satisfy your desires, is considered tamasic, whereas eating for the sake of, maintaining the body, then that is considered sattvic. Eating foods that are offered to the Lord is considered beyond the gunas. Sexual life in this age is a very perverted version of what love really is, and people nowadays confuse lust for love, and they think that simply having sex is love, and it's what you should be doing. And unfortunately, people just assume that that is what you should be doing, and everybody thinks that it's normal, and everybody's doing it. So nowadays, when you tell people that a religion says that sex is wrong, they don't want to follow it, and that's why there's so many people who are no longer Christians, who were born Christian, or Muslim, or even Hindu, that they're thinking that the religion is bigoted, and they don't want to accept that they can't do what they want to do. And then this obviously ties into another very controversial subject of sexuality, and is the fact of the matter is any sex, whether it be homosexual, heterosexual, is lust if it is not done for the right reasons. So the right reason simply is to make children. That is what sex is for. And like I said, people don't want to hear it, and people are going to be offended when I say this, but I'm not trying to satisfy the ego of people, and that's what you need to know when you answer these questions. When people ask you questions that are hard to answer, that you know that people of this world don't want to hear, you need to know that you're not trying to satisfy their ego self, you're trying to help their true self. If you try to sugarcoat things to make people feel better, or you try to sugarcoat it for yourself to make yourself feel better, and you try to justify what you do, then it's not going to work. You need to know that this is what Krishna says. This is what's in the scriptures, and it's for our own good. It's never to try to punish us, it's always for our own good. So just remember that whenever you're asked this question about sexuality, or even about anything, drinking, drugs, things that people of this world just say, I'm not trying to follow the world, I'm trying to follow God. We're not people of this world, we're people beyond this world. And if we were trying to follow the world, then we would sugarcoat everything and we would say, yeah, God doesn't care what you do, it really doesn't matter. And that's why so many people are trying to stay away from religion and trying to steer into the spiritual but not religious thing, because they want to still have general beliefs, but they don't want to be responsible for anything, and they want to continue doing what they want to do. So it hurts people of this Kali Yuga to hear that something that seems like the norm is what God doesn't want you to do. Back in the day, in Krishna's time, and even like in not that long ago, sex wasn't as big of a deal. Like, I'd say like in the 1920s and 30s, 40s, obviously in the 60s it became more of a deal, but that's when people didn't think, or back then they didn't think that sex was such a need and like to satisfy your lust. But then it became so normal that anybody saying that it's wrong is abnormal, and saying that you shouldn't be doing it is just not cool, and it's like, what's wrong with you? Who would ever say that? So you need to just remember that are you trying to follow Kali Yuga, or are you trying to follow Krishna? Obviously he knows best, because he knew what was going to happen in Kali Yuga. He knows that all this was going to happen. He knew what people would turn into. He knew that people would start following to satisfy their senses, and that's why he said that in Srimad Bhagavatam that the medicine for this yuga is the chanting of the names of the Lord. So the only way that you can do that in this yuga is by doing that. So just remember that when you're trying to not follow the world, Krishna knew what this world would be like. He knew people would be more rajasic and passionate and wanting to satisfy their senses. So he said, engage your senses in the chantings of the name of the Lord, and worshiping him and thinking of his pastimes, and just engaging with other people, and not trying to engage in your senses. So yeah, before this video gets too long and I'm just rambling about stuff, I'll cut it short. So yeah, just remember, follow Krishna, not the world. Satisfy the Krishna within people. Satisfy their true self, that their true soul wants to worship Krishna. And just have pity for those people. Just think like they want Krishna deep inside them. And just like Lord Kapila spoke about in the womb, people think that all they want to do is, when I get out, I just want to find Krishna again. I just want to chant the names of Lord Hari. So just remember that everyone deep inside really wants to do that. So don't try to satisfy their ego self, satisfy their true self.